Alright, so first off, I do want to apologize for the fact that I did not do a video last week. Throughout the last year and a half, there's not been a week that's went by that I haven't done at least one, if not 2 or 3 videos on this channel. These videos do take quite a bit of time, not making any excuses. I just honestly kind of took a week off. It was kind of nice to not have to think about the fact of doing a video. Not that I don't enjoy this, not that I don't still love every bit of this, but I've got a lot going on, and sometimes it's nice to take a break. So just a quick explanation of why I didn't do a video last week. Beyond that, also I haven't been doing a whole lot of shooting videos. I've been out shooting a ton, but trying to get videos in the amount of mirage at any sort of distance for videos that I would want to do has been almost impossible recently with the amount of mirage, with the sun beating down on the fields, with the crops in and all those things. So, like I said, not to make excuses, just wanted to explain and why I didn't do a video last week. So, with that being said, we're going to do a cartridge comparison today, which is probably the most requested 6mm cartridge comparison that I've got. So I've done several 6mm Creedmoor cartridge comparisons, and we've also done a 6mm Creedmoor to 6mm Remington cartridge comparison. And in the comments of that 6mm Creedmoor to 6mm Remington cartridge comparison, there were several comments saying, compare it to the 6mm Remington AI. So that's what we're going to do today at your guys' request. So we're going to look at the 6mm Creedmoor versus the 6mm Ackley Improved, or 6mm Remington Ackley Improved. So, parent cases for both these. 6mm Creedmoor, we've talked about this several times. The 308 down to the 30 TC, down to the 6.5 Creedmoor, then down to the 6mm Creedmoor. The parent cases for the 6mm AI, you're looking at a 7x57 Mauser, down to 257 Roberts, down to 6mm Remington, then down to 6mm Remington Ackley Improved. Case capacity for these two, somewhat similar. The 6mm Ackley Improved does have an advantage in case capacity. So 6mm Creedmoor, you're looking at 51.0 grains. And when we talk about case capacity, we are talking about water case capacity. So fill the case up with water, weigh the water, and that is your case capacity. 51.0 grains with the 6mm Creedmoor, whereas the 6mm Ackley Improved, you are looking at 54.7 grains of water case capacity. The shoulder angle, so 6mm Creedmoor, we've talked about this several times. It is a Hornady cartridge. Hornady has a tendency to run 30-degree shoulder angles on most of the Hornady derived cartridges, if not all of the Hornady derived cartridges that I can personally think of. And the 6mm Creedmoor is no exception. It has that Hornady 30-degree shoulder angle, which I think there's a lot of merit in that. And the 6mm Ackley Improved, now when we talk about the 6mm Ackley Improved, we have to talk about more than just the shoulder angle, because when they Ackley improved this case, the 6mm Remington is actually a tapered bodied case, so it actually starts out at the head of the case wider than what it ends up at the beginning of the shoulder. So because of that, that loses a lot of case space. So when they Ackley improved this, they actually take a lot of that taper out, so they are not only blowing out the case, but also bringing in the shoulder. So you have a 40-degree shoulder with that reduced body taper with the 6mm Ackley Improved. So a lot of work that's doing to that case, really making it almost a completely new case with that blowing out the shoulder. But I did want to mention that because when you talk about the shoulder angle of the Ackley Improved, especially compared to the 6mm Remington itself, there's a lot that goes into that beyond just the shoulder angle. So with that being said, velocity. So doing this comparison, one of the things that was kind of hard to come up with was an even way to do velocity comparison. So normally when I do, especially when I'm doing cartridges that are in the same caliber, like 6mm or 7mm or whatever, I try to use the same everything. So same bullets. So for this comparison, we're going to use the 107 Match King. We only go off published data. That way there can be no arguments. I know that most of my loads either exceed or most of my loads exceed published data, and with most of my cartridges, so I know that's not necessarily going to reflect other people's loads that they might come up with, but it is a fair way to compare these. So published data with the 6mm Creedmoor, we are going to use the 107 Match King for both these. Bullet that I really like. I have good true data on it, so when we do the trajectories, we'll be using my true data for the 107 Match King. And we're going to, because when you look up the data for both these, or when you look up the published data for both these cartridges, I couldn't find a powder that I was happy with comparing both of them. So what we're going to do is for the 6mm Remington, we are going to, or 6mm Remington Ackley Improved, we are going to use IMR 4350. For the 6mm Creedmoor, we're going to use H 4350. So fairly similar burn rates, fairly close to each other on the burn rate chart, but not the exact same powder. So I did want to note that right off the bat. I will say that the IMR 4350 is the best option as far as velocity, it seems, powder for the 6mm Remington as far as published data goes. So with all that being said, 6mm Creedmoor, all this is from a 24-inch barrel with the 107 Match King with published data, max pressure charge weights. We're going to use the max charge weight that we get from our published data. So 41.9 grains of H4350 on that 107 Match King. You are looking at 3,080 feet per second at the muzzle. With the 6mm Ackley Improved, with the 24-inch barrel, 107 Match King, all things being equal, IMR 4350, max pressure charge weight of 46.6 grains, so a significant amount heavier max pressure charge weight. You are looking at a 3,200 feet per second muzzle velocity. So you see that 120 feet per second faster at the muzzle from that 6mm Ackley Improved. Another thing that we really need to talk about when we're talking about the Ackley Improved case, the 6mm Remington, 6mm Ackley Improved, any of these cases, is both these cases are almost, if not in that realm of, they're right on the edge of being too long, especially if you want to run the heavier projectiles for both these cartridges, right on the edge of being too long to be chambered in a short action. You can do them in a short action, but with the short action you will have to be mindful of your bullet length if you want to mag feed these. So that's something I did want to mention. So velocity, so trajectory for these two, 6mm Creedmoor with the 107 Match King with our velocity of 3,080 feet per second at the muzzle. With my true data, you at 500 yards, you are looking at 7.5 minute of angle elevation correction, 2,291 feet per second remaining at target, and 1,247.6 foot-pounds of energy at the target at 500 yards with the 6mm Creedmoor and that 107 Match King. At 1,000 yards with your 6mm Creedmoor, you are looking at 24.0 minutes of angle elevation correction, 1,627 feet per second remaining at target, and then 629.1 foot-pounds of energy. So significantly less than 1,000 foot-pounds of energy remaining at target at 1,000 yards with your 6mm Creedmoor. The 6mm Ackley Improved at 500 yards with that 3,200 feet per second muzzle velocity with our 107 Match Kings, you are looking at 7.0 minutes of angle elevation correction to get out to 500 yards. You are looking at 2,395 feet per second remaining at target and 1,362.8 foot-pounds of energy with that 6mm Ackley Improved at 500 yards with our 107 Match King load from the 24-inch barrel. So at 1,000 yards with the same 6mm Ackley Improved, same muzzle velocity and everything, you're looking at 21.75 minutes of angle elevation correction. You are looking at a 1,714.5 feet per second velocity remaining at target and 698.4 foot-pounds of energy. So the 6mm Ackley Improved is definitely outperforming in your trajectory, your velocity at all ranges over the 6mm Creedmoor. The recoil between these two, recoil, the 6mm Creedmoor, both these are 6mm cartridges, typically small projectiles. You're not going to have a whole lot of recoil, and neither of these cartridges are going to be any exception. 6mm Creedmoor, I would be tempted to say has a less recoil, slightly heavier recoil than a standard 302 or 223. Sorry, the 6mm Remington is going to be slightly heavier than that. So with all that, I don't think recoil should be a mitigating factor between either of these cartridges. Barrel life. So we've talked about this several times. With 6mm Creedmoor, both these cartridges, first off, both these cartridges for 6mm cartridges are fairly overbore, meaning they are not going to have very big, very long barrel life. 6mm Creedmoor, when we talk about barrel life, we are talking about match accuracy barrel life. So from the time the barrel is new to the time your accuracy starts to degrade, that is your match accuracy barrel life. 6mm Creedmoor, you're looking at about 12 to 1,500 rounds of match accuracy barrel life. Now there are ways to extend that. We've talked about that in several videos. If you guys are curious, please go back and look at some of my videos. You'll see some of the ways that I've extended my barrel life in my 6mm Creedmoors, because I've been through several of these 6 Creed barrels. The 6mm Ackley Improved, there was data was kind of all over the place. I don't know anybody or have never personally burned out a 6mm AI barrel, so I don't have that data personally, but from everything that I could find online, taking an average, it looks like about 1,000 to 1,200 rounds of match accuracy from the 6mm AI, which makes a lot of sense compared to the 6 Creedmoor. You're burning a slight bit more powder, you've got a sharper shoulder angle, you're going to get a slightly reduced barrel life. So one of the places that the 6mm Creedmoor definitely has a big advantage over the 6mm AI is factory ammo and factory rifle availability. 6mm Creedmoor is, being a Hornady cartridge, has a lot of backing from the industry. There's almost no major manufacturers in ammo or rifles that do not produce rifles in 6mm Creedmoor. Whereas 6mm Ackley Improved, if you are not a hand loader and you don't plan to build a rifle or have a competent gunsmith build you a rifle, 6mm Ackley Improved is probably a cartridge that you're not going to be getting into. So with all that being said, this is the full comparison of the 6mm Creedmoor and the 6mm Ackley Improved. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.